First of all, let's consider that judicious is a synonym for astute, sharp, keen, perceptive, piercing, penetrating. This is a very important form of intelligence, to the point where your judgment is very much sort of determined by how sharp you are, how astute you are. With that being said, let's make a judgment call, and then let's scrutinize it, and let's compare it to the fact that most people don't make this judgment call. I will now state, number one, that not all martial artists deserve the title of martial artist. Look at the samurai guy who's willing to die for what he believes. He's willing to transcend Western culture, which is what the Last Samurai movie was about, really. And to die for what he believes, and to achieve the true purpose of his system. Can we then say he is the same as every buddy who practices martial arts? They're basically like posers who are trying to conform and pick up a hobby, like someone who does a circus show when they focus on stretching and doing cool moves. Think about it. Now, why did most people not make this distinction? Why have most people not make this distinction? Number two, any martial artist who limits it to his system and finds his place in this world. Okay, so we have the Western kind of martial artist going into the system, kind of some middle-class person, okay, you know, and he just is focused on moves, the hobby, and looks, right, and putting on a show. We have the guy who's an ethnic martial artist, okay, who is limited to the system. He's like the next step up. Then we have the universal martial artist. He says, I challenge everyone. I challenge everyone philosophically, spiritually, mentally, physically, right, mind, body, soul, and spirit. I transcend the boundaries of even my race. Think about it. He's above them all because he has a universal challenge. Let us put everything on the table and get to the bottom of this. Let's marshal society. To order what? To order one's race or to order the entire world? So the attempt for the individual on his own 10 toes to order the entire world while showing a superior system and philosophy must transcend these other systems. So to call all these people martial artists is wrong. Now, why haven't other martial artists made this distinction? Right away, we see the hero emerging. This is why heros means master, as a possible root term for the word Hera, who obviously isn't a hero. It's an example of the West superimposing their kind of Greco-Roman foundation on ideas, like they did in the Bible with Jesus and his image, to say the least. Think about it. There's no counter-argument. Are we to say that some circus freak is you know, who does a few cool moves is the same as somebody who could outmaneuver him in a split second and strike? It reminds me of when I took on the taller opponent. When in around 2 seconds, like less than 2 seconds I believe it was, I scored the first point. The average point took about 8 seconds. Maybe 5 seconds, because the whole thing was like, what, 1:37 seconds or something like that. The whole thing wasn't that long. I did the calculations. I don't have them off the top of my head. The average point was about in 5 to 8 seconds. 5 to 8 seconds I found a way to strike. Let's say it was 5 seconds. Let's say I'm taking on, I'm in combat, okay? I could have struck 10 people in 50 seconds, critically, okay? And this is after being sabotaged and on the grass in cumbersome footwear when I'm the Skywalker. So we're really looking at maybe 3 seconds, okay, for the average strike on the battlefield to somebody. I could strike you effectively to the point where you're dealt with and on the ground bleeding to death and move on. So I could kill 10 people in 30 seconds on the battlefield. Should we then say that the guy that can do this is the same caliber as somebody who just puts on a show and does stretches and say, look at the kicks I can do? So it's the same idea with somebody who's been doing martial arts. Say you've been doing martial arts for 30 years, but you haven't transcended Western culture, which everyone knows is highly sexualized, trickle-down crony capitalist culture, trickle-down pedophile culture. Everyone knows this. If you haven't transcended that, no, you're not a martial artist. Martial means to order, and they're focused on transcendence. Just look it up. Spirit warrior, Transcendent hero in the Fighting for Honor book, right? This is a pervasive idea in African martial arts, and it's a pervasive idea for more or less in Eastern arts. And the West basically borrows Eastern arts. American Taekwondo, American Karate. Why don't they have their own martial arts? Because they didn't do martial arts. They did the war arts of Mars, which is brute force arts, and wrestling and grappling, like the Spartans and so on. There's no way around this argument. So now let's identify who the top martial artists must be, where we must look for them. Now remember, martial arts are lifestyles. Your cause, you're analyzing the opponent. Who is this guy? Who is this opponent? What is his cause? What is his mind like? Let's read them, kind of like Sherlock Holmes. Martial artists are supposed to be Sherlock Holmes times 10. Read your opponent. Read women. That's why astute, the synonym for astute is judicious. Judgment. I'm judging you. Thou shalt not judge ineffectively. The scale you use will be used on you. If you judge me unfairly, when I punish you, I should put extras on it because you were unfair. You see what I'm saying? It's simple. It's not you shouldn't judge. He said, beware of false prophets, you'll know them by their fruits. Are you not supposed to judge them by their fruits? You are supposed to judge them. Thou shalt not judge unfairly. Thou shalt not tell somebody you can't come to the church and repent because you're a sinner. He said, hey, wait a second. You know, you were a sinner at one point. Straightforward. So let's look at this thing. What is the hero going to do? Is he going to roll with American culture? No. No fucking way. Is he going to roll with an ethnic culture and try to fit in a system that's made for their body types? No. Is he going to challenge everybody with universal principles? Yes. Where is he going to do it? Of course, we're going to look on YouTube. We're going to type in martial art challenge or martial art ideas. We're going to go through the YouTube videos and we're going to look at this person and we're going to make judgment calls. Is this guy a poser doing it for white supremacy? Next. Is this guy an ethnic guy trying to sell a system? Next. Is this guy an ethnic guy from Asia somewhere trying to kiss up to the white man? Next. Okay? We're going to go through it and we're going to find the hero. And what's going to happen to this guy? What historically happens to this guy? Well, everyone knows what, you know, the government cracks down on him. COINTELPRO, the CIA, MK Ultra. They do psychological operations. They throw him under the bus using psychiatry, using mental health. They try to confound his speech. That's what MK Ultra was about. Make it difficult for this person to articulate himself. Make it impossible to do physical behavior to prevent the rise of a black messiah. Look it up. To prevent the rise of a messiah that will electrify and stimulate the black militant movement. They're trying to stop this martial art hero, and they believe he's black. They said of all the movements, these black guys make the most fuss. It's Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, the Black Panther. These guys make the biggest fuss, generally speaking. It's pretty much open and shut. Let's prevent the rise of a martial artist from the black community. So we're going to probably disproportionately look for him in the black community because everyone else has withdrawn. They don't transcend as a hero. And Horus, or hero, is the archetype of Pharaoh. To be the top martial artist, you have to be a hero. You have to transcend conformity. You have to transcend your cult center, your cultivation, right? Your race and its culture. You have to have the culture to rule all cultures. You have to be the pharaoh, the obi, the built. The sash was worn by the women to carry the baby. To carry the line, marital arts, martial arts, pharaoh, the O is the reproductive cycle. For it to be fair for you to be the top, and there should be a top. It's like an army without a leader. There should be a top. You have to have universal morality, universal principles, and they will crack down on you because it is against American values. As far as their stated argument. Americans are liberals. They reject the top martial artist argument as a black transcendent hero. He better be gay or a feminist or something. The Americans are Republicans. They are white supremacists. They want to do things in a way that favors the white, thus the UFC and the American Taekwondo, the American karate. These people don't even, it doesn't even come from America. It doesn't even come from white people. They don't allow Africans to have martial arts systems when martial arts comes from Africa. And it's a pervasive thing across Africa. Leopard societies, there's multiple leopard societies. Igbo leopard societies, the Congo, the Zulu, Shaka Zulu, the great leopard, the great elephant. Even in their BBC series, they showed that strategy, speed, and physical contact. The leopard hunts. It's even in popular culture, if you bother to look. But where are the leopard society systems in America? And even a form of the animal styles of Shaolin Kung Fu is the panther, one of the main styles, the 5 animal styles. There's no way around it. We're going to look for the top martial artist, as a sabotaged, quote-unquote, political militant dissident. That's what he has to be to even be qualified. And they're going to pretend that he's crazy. That's what they historically do. Ionia State Hospital. If the black guy was to walk in old Mississippi, he must be crazy. Take him to the mental hospital. Drapetomania, if he's a runaway slave, which made martial art maroon colonies, slave colonies of people that ran away, he must be crazy. He wants to be a martial artist and leave the American culture. He must be crazy. We're going to look for the hero in his African context. We're going to look for him in the black community. We're going to look for someone with universal principles who is sabotaged. And I have 19 witnesses on record. He's going to say they're confounding his speech. He's going to know it's not enough to be a light. You have to appear to be a light. So he's going to argue against their bitch, and he's going to transcend the argument of you have an ego problem. When the Bible says, who lights a lamp and puts it on a stand? Matthew 5:15, neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand and it gives light to everyone in the house. In a predominantly Christian culture where many blacks are Christians, yes, he's going to transcend that ego bitch shit. Think about it. And I've proven definitively that he has an ego problem if he doesn't take his rightful place, because he wants people to kiss his ass instead of to sabotage him and take shots at him and make him feel less, which is what happens when the black man tries to take his rightful place as the top martial artist. I'm the last worthy person of any race. Mind you, I've transcended race. I'm mixed, and I'm related to the foundation of Asians in my family. There's Asian-looking black people in my family, dead on. I'm related to white people. I'm related to the Jews. I'm related to black people. And by default, because Eurasia is where, and Africa is where the natives come from, as the story goes, no matter how you slice it, no matter which way you look at it, you know, I'm related to the entire world, perhaps more than anybody else. Talk about the Pharaoh. My dad transcended race to marry my mother. It is apparent that I am the Pharaoh for many, many reasons. All right. So they're going to try to confound his speech. I go on and on about them confounding my speech. Right now, I'm speaking pretty effectively. I'm moving my hands effectively. Movement, ment, meaning mind. Compartmentalize, right? Mental, compartment, right? Mind, ment, government, govern the mind. They're trying to keep the guy from exclaiming and propounding the African supremacy of the universal martial art hero in favor of the Western eugenicist scientists who don't do martial arts, thus Tesla and the Tesla cars and Einstein worship and so on and so forth, the sapiosexual movement, etc. Figure it out. It's not enough to be a lamp, you got to show it. So in my pictures, I showed it. Then they sabotaged me, called me eye problems. They put me on the psych meds. I've shown you the psych meds. I've shown you the eye droppers. I've shown you the asthma inhalers for the application of the eye. Okay? And this one happens to be unopened. But I have others that are open. Here we go. Voila. Okay? They caused me eye problems on fucking record. It's open and shut. I am the top. No one else is even qualified. If no one entered the Olympics but one person, and this guy seemed to be far better than everyone else, will we say, hey, you know, you're not the best. The logical assumption is, why didn't they enter? Unless they're being coerced or something, why didn't they enter? In this case, you can't be coerced. You're supposed to transcend all coercion. You're a martial artist. This is the path of the wise man. This is a lifestyle. The way you live your life. If you're afraid of what other people will do to you and your family, you might want to take up knitting. Might want to go rear children. You might want to play patty cake or teach a kindergarten class. If you want to compare other martial artists to me, maybe you want to put on a thong. If you think that anyone can replace me, you might want to put on a pink thong and sing about how you're a little fucking teapot. But if you want to get serious, you must recognize that the only way to connect to God is through me. No one else is transcended. And it's cheating me out of my rightful place to direct people mentally, spiritually, physically, martial, and material. And you're nothing but a thief trying to connect to God if you don't obey God through me. Open and shut.